multiple MVP awards. So, a lot of people, you're a great example. All kids don't grow at the same speed. Some physically, girls tend to peak earlier than boys. I grew 7 inches my last year of high school. So, and some kids emotionally, they don't get the coaching in high school. Do you remember, because your story's well chronicled, do you remember watching a draft and thinking, I'm better than a lot of these guys? Do you remember that?
Come on, Colin. We all remember that. I remember when, I was, up for the draft and just thinking to myself, I should be the first quarterback picked. I know what's inside. I know what I'm capable of, even though I hadn't put it on the football field. So without a doubt, that's the part of all of us as competitors, the ego that we all have is, I remember those years I was playing arena football and just thinking to myself, man, I'm better than that guy. Why can't I get that opportunity? So, yeah, I remember those moments. I remember dreaming about having my name on the card as the number 1 pick in the draft. I remember all of those things.
Well, you have on YouTube a series of videos. You break down the top quarterback prospects. Here's my knock on Kenny Pickett. There's a ball security issue, the small hands issue. It's something Jared Goff had the same issue, and he's had some ball security issues. So it does worry me. He doesn't have your arm. He doesn't have a push the ball down the field arm. He is like Daniel Jones. He's a little athletic in space. Straight line speed's pretty good. I don't see a ton of it. He's now an older player. So, and these 23-year-old kids, they're playing against 20-year-olds. I guess my concern is, Kurt, I don't see a lot of the ceiling feels low for me on Kenny Pickett. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I can't tell you you're wrong. All I can say is that none of us really know a guy's ceiling until they get to the next level. And, you could use me as an example. I think you could use Tom Brady as an example of guys in college that were okay. And the reason they became great is because once they were pushed to another level, the speed was heightened. They were in an environment where they were surrounded by great talent. They took it to the next level. All we can do is look at guys in college and go, were they a good or great college player? And Kenny Pickett had a great year last year. And he had a great year because he made different kinds of throws. He stepped up in the moment. They asked him to carry that team with his right arm, and he did it game after game after game. He found ways to make plays when there wasn't plays there. I think we have to give guys the benefit of the doubt that I've seen guys just like you have, Colin, that are great college players, and they never become anything in the NFL. For whatever reason, they couldn't, translate the speed. They didn't have the ability to grow as the level got higher. And then we've seen guys on the other side of it. But I think you have to take guys in college and go, okay, what did they do in college? They were really good in college. And we've got to say, well, because they were really good and they did this consistently and they did it for the course of an entire season, we have to give them the benefit of the doubt that if they did it there, the things that can translate to the NFL. And most importantly, they can grow with the game because all the great ones grow with the game. None of them come from college and are the same guy in the pros that they were in college, and they're great at the NFL level. You just don't have it. You've got to grow into the position. And Kenny Pickett had a really, really good year that makes me say the way people are talking about him, I'm really surprised that people aren't talking more highly of him because every time I pop on the tape, I see a better player than I thought I was going to see based off of my first breakdown of the player. So many good things about him, and I understand what you're saying, but I don't believe he's limited physically to the point of other guys that I've seen to say, oh, he can't make those throws, or I really worry about whether he can make those throws. I think he can make every throw that he has to make at the NFL level.
So the kid from Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's quarterback, Matt Corral, I saw him play in high school out in Los Angeles. Big arm. He can sling it. He's smaller. When you broke down the tape, any concerns? What did you see? A lot of people think, he could maybe be if somebody reaches, they're going to reach for a quarterback. That's the position now, maybe a wide receiver. What do you see from the kid at Ole Miss, Matt Corral?
Yeah, I saw a guy. So first of all, again, I break down the quarterback position sometimes different than other people. I like to look at technique. because I think technique, if you have good technique, it can translate to any level when you're throwing a football. First thing is I really like the compact delivery that Matt has. That allows him to be really, really efficient and successful on the quicker throws. When you watched him at Ole Miss, they did a lot of the RPOs. RPOs can be really tough on quarterbacks because oftentimes you don't get into technique, and if your arm motion is too long, you're going to miss a lot of throws that a lot of people look and go, that's easy. I thought Matt was really, really good at that stuff.
Yeah.
I thought he was really good at the shorter stuff, the stuff in between the numbers or in between the hashes in college. He was really good. Where I thought he struggled, and when I watched him on tape, everybody tells me that he's got this big cannon arm. I felt like he really struggled on throws down the field. Those second-level throws, which to me are what's a difference maker at the NFL level. If you can't make the 15 to 35-yard throws consistently, you're never going to be great at the NFL level. You've got to be able to be really good at those things. And I thought he really struggled with his accuracy when he had to drive the football down the field and, put a little different pace on the football. So that's my big concern. Can he manage things? Can he make, do some things in a unique offense? Yeah, I think he can. But, and again, we have to look at the offense and say they didn't ask him to do certain things, but I worry about that second level ability of him at the NFL level because, again, I don't think you can be a franchise guy. I don't think you can be a difference maker if you can't consistently make those kind of throws.
I want to ask you about the Kyler Murray situation in Arizona because you have history there. I think you still live down there. I always kind of fall to it's the most important position. He's a special player. Not everybody can be Dak Prescott. And I always felt, Kyler would be a holdout guy. Aaron Rodgers is a lot of drama. And I just think certain players, they're sensitive or they feel like they're getting beat up in the press. And Aaron and Kyler, there's a little bit of drama. I would pay both. I would just pay both. You are a prime example. You literally change franchises. You could be the greatest edge rusher in that. Khalil Mack was great for the Bears. Didn't won one of them Super Bowls. So what did you make of it, though, as somebody who's played there? The organization. It got really messy. Can all that stuff just be brushed aside once they sign the contract, no hurt feelings? Can it kind of disappear into the ether?
Well, I think it's hard. I think you do remember different things. I think depending on, the relationship, but between the walls and in the locker room and behind closed doors will tell a lot. That sometimes things can get out in the open and you have to say what you have to say. You have to do what you have to do from either side. And I get that. But I think a lot would depend on what the relationship was like before that. And some people might say, well, we'd never get to this point if the relationship was really good before that. But I think it's a different age and a different time. And we try to make different statements in different ways now than maybe we did when I was playing. I think the toughest part of this situation, and you make a great point, Colin, is that Kyler Murray is gifted. He's gifted in ways that are rare.
Yeah.
He's a gifted thrower of the football. And and I don't say that lightly. He can do things with the football that's very, very rare. He's great and has been great in the regular season. So every year he's talked about in the MVP conversation for a while. He's in the Pro Bowl. And so to your point, you almost have to pay him because you see what he's capable of. And you see that he does things that other guys can't do. I think what the Cardinals are looking for is, but we need that extra. We need that commitment that's a little bit further. So when it comes time in the playoffs, and it's not just about you being a gifted passer or you being a guy that can run around and make guys miss. When you're playing against the best teams in the league, you have to be one of the best at your position. Not one of the best talents, not one of the most gifted throwers, but one of the best at your position in playing the position. And I think that's what the Cardinals want. Kyler's not quite there yet. As great as he's been in the regular season, he's not quite there to get over the hump. And that's where the dilemma comes in, is that Kyler says, look what I've done. And I'm in the MVP conversation. I deserve $40 million a year. And the Cardinals are just saying, well, we kind of hold that stat, that level for the guys that have shown that they can compete in the playoffs at the highest level and for championships. And so I understand both sides 100%. But the bottom line here is, as you said, you got to pay Kyler Murray because he's gifted and he's different and he brings something different. And you hope you're going to get that other side of him. But you know what you're going to get on a yearly basis. And that's going to be really good football in the regular season, probably get you into the playoffs every year. And now we need to get that extra. But you're not going to find what Kyler Murray is very often. And so I'm with you that eventually this is going to get done. He's going to stay in Arizona. And the hope is going to be that they grow together to the point where they can compete for championships.
Kurt Warner, good seeing you. NFL Network tonight starts 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. That's where we live. First round NFL draft in Las Vegas. They move it around now, which is just a great idea. Good seeing you, Kurt.
You too, my man. Take care.
All right. So here we are. NFL draft. Not a ton of buzz, but I think it'll probably get interesting numbers. I think people are going to watch it. Got a couple NBA playoff games tonight. Sixers. Boy, if Doc Rivers loses this, it's just going to be cats and dogs living together. You know, people just I always laugh at this stuff. We glamorize NBA players, right? So they're the league. And then the minute you lose a playoff series, we don't blame the player, it's the coach. It's like, folks, KD couldn't get good shots. Some of it's KD. Kyrie didn't elevate KD. Is that just the coach? I'm not saying the coach, Steve Nash, had a great